Good evening to everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Marriage Podcast with your host, the Rev, where we deal with marriage topics and help you to try to keep your marriage strong. Amen. So we thank God for each and every one of you all as we get started. Amen. As we get started with the podcast and all that. Thank you in advance for people that's going to tune in and for people that's going to tune in later. Amen. We give God all glory, honor, and praise. I am the Rev. I have been doing a podcast for several years now. Took a break and then came back. All right. So I'm excited about being here this evening. Amen. If you are watching, please share with your family, your friends, and your co-workers. I want to make sure that you can hear me. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay. All right. I'll make sure that you can hear me and more of me of the music. And so, to God be the glory for each and every one of you all. Make sure, okay. So I'm excited about being here. This is another episode of the Marriage Podcast and all that. And, we want to make sure that we have everything right and ready to go. So, again, this is something I believe that God has blessed me with and all that. And so we're ready to go. So tonight we're going to talk about how to keep a healthy marriage. How to keep a healthy marriage and what a healthy marriage really, truly looks like. What a healthy marriage truly looks like and all that. And so once that you understand what a healthy marriage looks like and trying to keep a healthy marriage, your marriage will last longer. Let me tell you something. Marriage is a wonderful thing, but we have to understand there is work to do in a marriage. There is work to do inside of your marriage. And when somebody tells you they're tired of working, trying to keep the marriage strong, that's when you need people in your corner that will really help you to try to stay strong inside the marriage. That's when you really need somebody, some encouraging people, other couples, your pastor, your first lady, and other religious leaders. And then it might even get to a point where you might have to do some counseling. You might have to do some counseling. And I know a lot of people don't like to talk to people about their business, but when it comes to keeping your marriage strong and keeping your marriage where it lasts to death do your part, there are things you're going to have to do. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. Getting help. Never be ashamed. I suggest never be ashamed of getting help inside your marriage. Never be ashamed of getting help inside of your marriage. I truly can say this. I truly think I can say this and say there's no perfect marriage. But there are things that husband and wives can stay away from. Husband and wives. And you will hear me say, you have heard me say that it's important to have God in your life so it will make things better in your marriage. If you both are serving God, you have a relationship with God, then what happens is that that person begins to have a healthy marriage that way, because God is in your life. God is planted in your life. God is concrete in your life. God is solid in your life. All that and more. And once that you understand that, if you don't understand anything else, you have to understand that you're going to need God to help that marriage continue to stay strong and healthy. Let me tell you something. People that get sick, they have to go get certain things to help them get better. People have to go, they have to go and get certain things to help them to get back healthy. There was some things that when COVID-19 was going on, that people had to say, I gotta do something. I gotta get the shot. I gotta get I think they got a patch. And even people that had the flu or just a simple cold went to go get NyQuil, went to go get Stirflu, went to go get all these things that they needed to help them get better. Because even some of them said, okay, I'm going to go to urgent care, or I'm going to go to the ER, or I'm going to contact my primary care doctor and say to do. So what they're doing is they're saying, I want to get better. I want to be healthy. So they might even get the flu shot, the pneumonia shot, the shingles, all those things to keep them healthy. So what they did, they said, I can't do it by myself. I can't do this by myself. So I gotta be able to get some help. And that's the same way with your marriage. You got to understand that you got to get some help with your marriage. You need some professional help. You need somebody that's going to guide you in the right direction. Now, I'm going to tell you something for free. Another couple that's not healthy, it's going to be kind of difficult for them to help you if they're not healthy. If their marriage is sick, then how can they help you keep your marriage healthy? Now, what you can do in certain ways of learning from them about things that you might want to stay away from. That's why you might, learning from them, there might be things you say, I want to stay away from. I gotta stay away from if I want my marriage to be happy. Some people might even say that we don't need to be arguing in public, going over the boundaries in public, overstepping the boundaries, in public. So because those things can make an unhealthy marriage. Calling each other out of their name can make it an unhealthy marriage. Not spending time with each other can make an unhealthy marriage. I'm gonna tell y'all right now that when you accept this person in your life, when you say I do to this person, it's some things that you're gonna have to change inside of your life, because now you a married man. Now you might still have some single friends. I'm not telling you to get rid of your single friends, but what I'm telling you is you're gonna have to tell your single friends that, hey, I'm a married man, I'm a married woman. There's places I can't go, there's things I can't do, and things like that. And if they don't understand, oh well. Because the one thing you want to do, you want to keep your marriage strong and you want to keep your marriage healthy. That's why I say marriage is a good thing, but you have to understand as being married, I still have to put some work in. Now, let me tell you this much. The work does not work on one side. I'm going to say it again. The work does not work on one side. There's no way that the husband should be working to keep this marriage strong and healthy, and the wife is not doing anything, and vice versa. The wife is doing everything to keep the marriage strong and healthy, and the husband's not doing anything. It takes them to work together. That's why they are one. It takes them to work together. A lot of people might not say this, but you have to understand, being married says, okay, she's a part of me and I'm a part of her. So when you hurt me, you're hurting her. You see what I'm saying? When you come at her the wrong way, you coming at me the wrong way because she's a part of me and I'm a part of her. You see what I'm saying? You know, and a lot of people, watch this. A lot of people don't want to understand inside their marriage. When a lot of people don't understand. If you dislike my wife, you dislike me. Again, if you dislike my wife, you dislike me. Okay? If you dislike me or because God has made us as one. And so you have to understand that's a part of taking care of your spouse. What you also have to understand, if I'm going to keep this marriage strong and healthy, what I have to do as being married, what I have to do as being in a relationship with my wife, being married, having a strong marriage, having a healthy marriage, you know, there's things that I'm going to put up with, and there's things I'm not going to put up with. There's things I'm going to deal with, and there's things I'm not going to deal with. Staying away from calling each other out of each other's name. Whatever name that they parents name them, you got to understand, you got to respect that. She's not other words or other names. She is who she is. He's not other words or other name. He is what he is. And one thing I want to say, to the men as a side note, as being a man, we have to understand that we have to stop being so quiet and not really saying how we feel. Oh, somebody gonna miss that. We have to learn that at being a man, we gotta learn that we gotta stop inside your marriage saying, well, she ain't gonna hear me anyway. Why am I wasting my breath? I'm finna go on about my way. I'm just gonna, some of them say, well, I'm just gonna be in the doghouse. I'm not gonna talk about this, all that and more. No. That's why sometimes so many men are unhappy inside of a marriage, because they're not really expressing themselves. They're so unhappy about what's going on in the marriage that they are not expressing themselves. I'm one of those brothers that I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to let you know if I'm hurting. I'm going to let you know if I'm not happy. And I really want my wife to really hear me and not just ignore what I say. Don't let it go in one ear and come out. It needs to resonate. It needs to be in her brain and her heart that here it is. He's letting me know that he's not happy about something. And we need to talk about it, and we need to work on it. See, again, men, sometimes men will run instead of staying there and dealing with it. See, and then men, you have to understand that you are the leader. You are the leader of that marriage. God has made you the leader. God has made you the king, and she's the queen. Now, not to try to downgrade her or anything like that, but what you have to understand, you are the leader. You are the one that God says, you take care of this family. God didn't make woman first, he made man first. He made Adam, then he made Eve. You see what I'm saying? And so men have to understand that if God made you the leader, be the leader. Every army, that every military aspect, the Marines, the Navy, the Army, whatever, the reserves, whatever, there was always a leader inside there that says, I'm going to lead the troops in a certain way to a certain area. And so to keep a healthy marriage, to keep a strong marriage, men have to understand you can't keep walking away. You can't keep leaving the situation and not deal with the situation, because you have a heart, you have a feeling, you got feelings and all that and more. And then men have to also get away from saying, okay, I don't need to go to counseling. Nobody can tell me anything. I don't need any help, when you really do. When you really truly do, you just don't want to. There's a help, but you got to want the help. If somebody says, okay, I want to help you by feeding you, and then you say, no, I don't want the help. Now you know you hungry. You know you want something to eat, but you're not allowing somebody to help you feed you. Well, you know you're hurting inside your marriage. You know that you are not happy inside your marriage, but you tried to do it on your own and it didn't work. And then when somebody tried to offer some help, you was too stubborn or mean to say that I'm going to take the help. I'm going to take the help. I'm going to accept the help. You see what I'm saying? And I'll be honest, there are some men and women that are out here stubborn enough to say, you know what? Can't nobody tell me nothing. Why are you even talking to me? Why are we even dealing with this? And all that and more. And you have to understand that when you are like that, you in trouble. You in trouble. What's up, Mr. James and Juliet? You are in trouble as a man or a woman because your job, you guys' job inside of a marriage. See, a lot of times we so busy keeping everybody else happy. We so busy trying to help other people be healthy. See, let me tell you something. A lot of pastors and a lot of ministers would probably tell you that their marriage is going through some things and not healthy like it should be, and here it is that same pastor needs some help inside their marriage. Needs some help inside their marriage. Need to be praying. Need to be getting some counseling. Need to be this and that. But they're so. Some of them are so proud and so closed up. They're like, I don't want nobody in my business. I don't want nobody to know this. I don't want nobody to know that. But here it is. You know, sometimes God is the main person. But what if God says, son, daughter, I'm going to send you to somebody. Here, show you a sign that here's some help. Here's some help. One thing I know about people, sometimes when you got benefits, medical benefits on your job and things like that, except medical benefits, sometimes what they have is what they call counseling. Inside of, and they don't explain that to you, you have to really ask, because I did that. But you have to understand that you sometime in your marriage, before you get to that big word, divorce, there's things that you got to do first, because the one thing that God does not believe in divorce or separation and divorce. He wants you to do everything. He wants you to be in prayer. He wants you to be in his word. He wants you to be fasting. He wants you to do everything possible to do. He wants you to get some help. He wants you to stay in communication with him so you can avoid those two words, separation and divorce. Because that's what happens when your marriage starts getting sick and then you do nothing to cure that sickness in your marriage to get it back healthy. Number one, that you have to learn that communication is very important inside of a marriage. You got to have a dialogue, okay? Watch this. You got to have a dialogue with your person. Also, you gotta you and your person has to have a listening ear, a pay attention and listening. And I think a lot of times, so many people they're not really hearing their spouse. They ready to respond to what their spouse said, and their spouse ain't really got it out. And then too, you really probably didn't pay attention to what your spouse really said. You really didn't pay attention to what your spouse really said. Did you give them eye contact? Did you turn off your phone? Did you turn off the TV? Did y'all make sure the children were asleep? Did you make sure that you're ready, you're relaxed, and everything else? Sometimes I'm going to even give you one suggestion. It might not even be good to lay down and have a conversation, because if you're tired, you might end up going to sleep in that conversation. And do you know how much that would probably hurt your spouse? Is that you're on one side of the bed, they're on the other side, and y'all sitting up and supposed to be talking about something, and you look over and the other spouse is asleep? Come on now. Come on. Help today. Because the last thing you want is your spouse to not hear you. And then I use this phrase called, do you hear the words that's coming out of my mouth? If you do, repeat what I just said. Repeat what I just said to you. Repeat what I just said. I might have told you that I'm ready to throw in the towel. I can't do this marriage anymore. I'm walking away. You make me unhappy. Every time I see you, I don't want to, I get sick or I get depressed or I begin to stress and all that. Those are words that will make that marriage unhealthy. Those are words that will make that marriage sick. Those are words. Y'all don't believe that when it says words will hurt. Words will hurt. You know, a person saying, I'm tired of you not spending no time with me. I'm tired of you ignoring me. I'm tired of you turning your back on me. I'm tired of these things happening and they haven't changed. Okay, the person has made it known. And here's the one thing that I want you to understand. Number one, you never play the blame game in your marriage. The blame game is not a healthy thing at all. You have to choose, and let me tell you something. I know sometimes things you have to just say like a TI is and it's raw, but sometimes you might have to choose how you say things. You know what I'm saying? Choose how you say things. Okay? Communication is very important inside of a marriage. You guys are not roommates. You're not boyfriend and girlfriend. You're husband and wife. Your husband and wife, even roommates got to talk to each other about anything that's wrong, but you're husband and wife. If your husband comes to you and say, hey, here's what I say. When is a good time to talk? When is a good time for me and you to sit down and talk? And if it's real serious, you don't want it to linger too long. Because what the person begins to realize, or the person might get in their head, oh, you really don't want to talk about this. You really don't want to do this. You really don't want to sit down and talk to me about this. And so the person's like, wait a minute, hold on. They still ain't got back with me. You see what I'm saying? And let me tell you something. Let's talk about the wrong times to want to talk about something. Okay, the wrong times. We already know, okay, a lot of men and some women like sports. Okay? Like my favorite team is the Rams. Okay? Most people a lot of people like Dallas Cowboys. A lot of people like the Lakers. Some people like a lot of the different football teams and basketball teams, and people like baseball and tennis and all that. And then women, a lot of times, they like certain movies, certain reality shows, they like, and men and women both like to be on the phone. So therefore, okay, now the phone can be a little different, okay? And then you got to understand, if you got children, you got to understand that too, all right? So you understand that, okay, when is it going to be a good time for us to sit down and talk? That's something you might want to ask your spouse. When is a good time for us to sit down and talk? When is a good time? Because you want to know that, right? Right. And so understanding that and knowing that and doing that will help your marriage stay strong and healthy. Nobody wants an unhealthy marriage. Nobody wants a sick marriage. Nobody wants a marriage where every day y'all arguing, y'all fighting, y'all not agreeing on anything. Nobody wants that. That's when stress begins to kick in. That's when depression kicks in. You know, that's when you start reeling in your mind that I want to leave this person. I want to get this person out of my life. I want to do this and I want to do that. And you know, now what you're doing, you're being disobedient to something that God does not, that you're doing something that God does not like, and God is not pleased with that. Because that's why, and I want you to understand this as well, real quick. That's why you should allow God to give that person in your life, men and women, to whoever God put that person in your life. That way you can't go wrong. If God puts the right female or the right male in your life, you can't go wrong. But if you try to do it on your own, it might not work out right. It might not work out right. And so you have to do things to keep to keep your marriage from being sick. I'm gonna say it again. You got to do things to keep your marriage from being sick. The next thing you got to do, you got to have trust in your marriage. You got to have trust in your marriage. See, here it is that when you guys stood on stage or on the floor or went to the courthouse, you told the pastor, you told the minister, you told the judge, you basically said, okay, I do. I do means that I trust you, that you're going to take care of me, you're going to be faithful to me, you're going to be loyal to me, all that and more. You're going to be the husband I want, and I'm going to be the wife that you want. And we're going to trust that we're going to honor each and every one of that. I trust that you will honor your marriage. You will not cheat. I trust that you won't harm me. I trust that you won't do anything to hurt me or anything like that. Those things have to be solid. Trust has to be solid. And the thing about it, when you break that trust, not to say that you can't rebuild that trust, but it might take time to do that. And that's why the way that you help keep that trust floating and solid, what you have to do is that you have to keep it solid, not floating. You have to keep it solid. The thing that you do inside that trust factor is that there's things you might want to stay away from. There's things that you might not want to say, and things like that. And a lot of people don't even realize responsibility is a trust factor as well. What are you saying, Rev? I'm saying the trust factor is just as in the trust factor in responsibilities. You have bills to take care of. You might have children to take care of. You might need to maintain some things in the house. You might need to maintain some things with your car and all those things. And so what begins to happen, what you have to understand is being married, as being as one, your spouse, your husband or your wife trust you enough to take care of the bills. Okay, you trust your spouse enough to take care of the children, make sure they get to school, make sure that they eat, they make sure that their clothes are clean, make sure that their hair is done, make sure all these things. I'm trusting that you do that along with everything else. See, a spouse has to understand, I trust that you will never hit me. I got to trust it. I got to believe that, See, the thing about it, you put trust in God, and then you put trust in the person you dedicating yourself to. I don't really think that people understand how important certain things inside the element of a healthy marriage. The elements, the things that you got to keep there, the things that's got to be solid, the things that are important to know that it is okay. These are things you got to know. And let me tell you something. Yes, the wedding day is nice. The tuxedos, the dress, the everybody, the wedding party, the hall, all that, all that is nice. The honeymoon and all that is nice. But what you got to realize is some work to do once that day is over. And it don't start a week later. No, it starts that day. It starts, if I say that next day, that you begin to put the work in. And here's the thing that I tell people, that if I was going to counsel you, I would say to you that you got to understand, brothers and sisters, that inside that marriage, there's things you might have to write down. You might have to keep notes. You know how you keep notes on jobs and other areas, so you could go back and say, okay, let's revisit some things. you're going to have to also do that to keep the marriage strong. We need to revisit some things. You said you done some things that you said you wouldn't do when we was sitting down and when we was talking. You know, uh, um, you know, all those things are important to a marriage to keep that marriage healthy and strong. Once you're married, I tell people, you say, okay, let me score my marriage. You say, okay, from 1 to 10, what's your number? And you say 8, or if you say a 5, oh, it's immediately work. That's an emergency. That's immediately work. That is a emergency right there. Amen. That is a emergency right there to say, hey, we immediately got some work to do. We immediately got some work to do. Right away. No time to waste. Amen. No time to waste at all, because you recognize that the number is low. So there's some issues somewhere. And here it is that, and I say this, and I want to say this, one thing I do say, please don't start something you're not going to finish. Don't start something you enjoy doing it, and then on down the line, you don't want to do it no more. That ain't right. That ain't right. That ain't right. That ain't right. That you enjoy doing that, and now you don't enjoy doing it anymore. You see what I'm saying? And so now you run into all kinds of problems, because here it is, your spouse expects you to do this. Let's just say, for instance, a little thing that you say, okay, every weekend or every other weekend, I'm going to take my spouse some roses. And all of a sudden you stop. So your spouse, and most time women like roses and flowers. And your wife said, your wife done got used to this. You might have had some delivered to the job, or you brought some home, and she's saying, what happened? What happened? That he's not doing this anymore. That he's not giving me flowers anymore. He's not giving me roses anymore. Okay? And so it becomes a problem now, because you started something and didn't finish it. The next thing that you have to understand, having affection in your marriage, being affectionate in your marriage, kissing, hugging, being intimate. Yes, being intimate with each other. You see what I'm saying? Kissing and hugging, Google eyeing each other, holding each other. That's when spending time comes in. Telling each other, hey, just grabbing each other, telling her she look good, and all that, being affectionate, letting her know that, hey, this is my wife, and I'm gonna show her. I'm gonna give. So a lot of people, when they come in the house, they greet each other with a kiss, or they greet each other with a hug, and then if they're out and about and they hear a song and they want to dance, they really kind of slow dancing with each other and all that, touching each other and all that. And then you're making love. Let me tell y'all this much. I know that this should be for adults only, marriage adults only. Let me say this much. Making love to your spouse, don't make it a hinder. Don't make it a problem. Make it where both people enjoy making love to each other. Making love to each other. Having intercourse. Making love to each other. Turning on some good music. Come on, y'all. Y'all know we can't turn on Fred Hammond or Kurt Franklin or a worship song. No, you're turning on a nice, clean, slow song that you can make love to. You know what I'm saying? Getting away and doing those things. Sometimes, you might have too many children, but if you got 2 older children, or you got somebody to watch the children, saying, hey, can y'all take them for the weekend, or can y'all take them for the night? Me and my spouse, we gonna go have some alone time. That's another thing that keeps the marriage strong is having some good alone time. Putting the cell phone down, grabbing a movie, getting some popcorn, you know, going to the drive-in, going to the movies, some alone time. I know people that have several kids and they be like, we got to figure out somewhere we can have some alone time with each other. With each other. To spend time with each other. Does that make sense? It should. So, when you hear people say, well, we really shouldn't talk about making love in the podcast, yes, you should. Yes, you should. Yes, you should. You see what I'm saying? Yes, you should. If you're not planning on having kids, you know what to do. Wear protection and all that. But you got to understand that, to me, that is part of the marriage. You want to keep it healthy. When your spouse sees you, your husband see his wife, he ought to be excited. When your wife see her husband, you ought to be excited. If your husband got on some good smelling cologne, you ought to be like, ooh, that smells so good. If your wife got on some good smelling perfume, you ought to be telling her. If your husband got on your husband got on a real nice suit or a real nice outfit, y'all finna go out giving compliments to each other and just really blowing their mind. That helps. That's good self-esteem. That not self-esteem, but that encourages your spouse. You see what I'm saying? That encourages your spouse. My wife for Father's Day, she says for Father's Day, she say, sir, you gonna get up and I got somewhere to take you. We got an appointment. I said, okay. I got up and she took me to one of the brothers from the church. He's a barber. And he cut my hair and he shaved me and all that, and she was impressed. She was impressed, and things like that. Like, we got vacation coming up this weekend, and she's decided to get braids in her hair, and her hair braided, and I'm saying, man, that is beautiful. That looks good on you. You see what I'm saying? Paying compliments to your spouse. The next thing I want to talk about is having some type of laughter. Again, laughter, enjoy each other. Me and my wife, we be around each other a lot of times, and when we get a chance, we're laughing and we're joking, and I might find something on Facebook or TikTok that's making her happy, and there might be something on there that makes her laugh or whatever, and she wants to tell me about it. She wants to tell me about it. And we began to laugh, or we began to think about something that happened. I don't care if it's years ago. We think about something that's happened that's pleasure, not the bad things, the things that's pleasure that we start laughing about. Something that maybe happened when you was a kid is something that you can laugh about. Enjoy being around each other. I heard people say when their anniversary come up, when their birthdays come up, well, I gotta take this person out for their anniversary. Their birthday coming up. Let me tell y'all something, and I'll tell this story to the end. Me and my wife and my daughter, we went to Chicago this year for my wife's birthday, and we did everything we wanted to do. We took care of everything we wanted to take care of and all that, and so just to see the joy on her face, to see on her birthday, she really enjoyed herself. And I told her, I said, no, it's about you, not me. I'm going to say it again. It's about you, not me. And it was. She got to do whatever she wanted to do in Chicago, go wherever she wanted to go in Chicago. But to see the joy on her face, nothing else mattered at that point when we left here. To see the joy on her face, to see that she's happy, and things like that. And so, It was a joy. Our anniversary came around. It was a joy. All these things happened, and it was a joy. It was it was a joy. It was a joy. It was a joy. And so when it's a joy, and your person, your wife is happy, your husband is happy, both people are happy, then you're good. You see what I'm saying? You're good. We went to church, and then we went to dinner, and we went to a place that was kind of intimate with the lights down and things like that, and we enjoyed ourselves. We had a good time. We spent time together. We laughed. We talked. That's what couples supposed to do. Laugh and joke with each other. It ain't time to embarrass each other. It ain't time for that. It's time for to spend some time with each other. It's time to we're going on vacation with another couple, and things like that. And I just believe that um we need to have a good time with each other. Amen. We need to have a good time with each other, while we're out of town. You know, we already said we're gonna take days where we just gonna let loose and act a fool in a good, clean way. But I know one time we went and we did this vacation with them, and we just kind of played games. We played games with each other. We did these things with each other to be around each other and all that. Never make it a hinder or a problem spending time with your wife, because I'm going to tell you something, or with your spouse. I'm going to tell you something. It's going to show. If you really don't want to do something, it's going to show. It's really going to show inside of the marriage. I guarantee you, it's going to show. It is definitely going to show what okay. The other thing that you want to understand: share goals and values. What are your goals in life? That's something that you should be sitting down when you first sit down and talk with each other. Or hey, what are your goals in life? What are your values? What you really want to, what is the goal of even being married? What is your goal for marrying me? What are your values? What do you value most? What do you value the most? And things like that. You have to, those things are important to share your values and your goals, or your goals and values, right? Right. Uh, like I said, fun and laughter with each other. Yeah. And so you focusing on these elements and enhance the quality of marriage, promoting deeper connection, and over the time building a healthy relationship is an ongoing process requiring effective and commitment from both partners. You got to be committed, y'all. If you want your marriage to stay healthy, you have to use certain components. You have to use certain elements. If you got to write them down and sometimes just revisit them. Revisit them. Using the what is the five love languages? Visit them and say, where am I weak at? Where am I strong at? You see something. Like sometimes when my wife is working from home and I'm about to get something to eat, I will stop before I get the food and say, hey, do you want me to bring you something? Or if I'm not even eating, hey, I'm finna go this way. Do you want me to bring you something? Do you want something to drink? Do you want a snack? Do you want, things like that? Those things are important, y'all. Those little things will help keep the marriage strong. All right. All right. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another marriage podcast, how to keep your marriage strong and all that. big shout outs to my wife and Elder Kendall Douglas and Sister Michelle Douglas. We kicked off the first of many this past month, July, the fourth Thursday in July, where we was able to connect, and a few bloopers, but that's okay. We're gonna work on them. All that there are gonna be, so the things that we talk about. We're gonna have big discussions. We had a lightning round with them and all that, and so we got through. We just did not get a chance to end it like we wanted to, and but we thank God that we were able to get it in, and that was the first, like I said, of many more to come, and all that. I want to give a big shout out to all married people. I don't care how long you've been married. Out to all married people, I want to give a big shout out and congratulations to anybody that just got married, and all that, because it's important. Yeah, marriage is a good thing. Hang in there with it. It's gonna get tough. It's gonna have its rough days, but hang in there with it and allow God to control your marriage. Like a remote control car, allow God to control your marriage, and you can't go wrong. So I want to say good night to everybody. Please understand that these episodes will be on Spotify. Right now we're working on podcast, Apple Podcasts, and we're going to reach to try to get to iHeartRadio, put the podcast on there as well. So tune in, not next Thursday, but the Thursday after that, and for another episode of How to Keep Your Marriage Strong. Good night, y'all.